I, 27 female, have been engaged to Derek, 51 male, for 12 months, and I'm currently 3 months pregnant with our baby. Derek has 1 daughter from his first marriage and 3 from his second: Scarlett, 18 female, Kaylin, teen female, Raylan, teen female, and Madeline, young female teen. The divorces from his ex-wives were messy, so aside from the girls, Derek doesn't really talk to his ex-wives, which means they aren't really on the same page when it comes to parenting. Because of this, I feel like these girls are out of control. I recently moved in with Derek after 2 years of seeing each other, after finding out I was pregnant and needing help with simple tasks like getting my shoes on. There have been a few issues with this. One is that his daughters seem to hate me for loving their dad. Once when I came home from work, Scarlett yelled at me because, according to her, it's gross to have a stepmom that's not even 10 years older than her. I tried to explain that love comes in all shapes and sizes, and age really doesn't matter. Apparently after that, Scarlett confronted Derek about whether he would be okay with her dating a 50-year-old guy and yelled at her. Scarlett called him a hypocrite and left her mom's house. Since then, the other 3 have been acting up. Kaylin has been refusing to do her chores and thinks since I live with her dad now, that she shouldn't have to empty the dishwasher or fold her own laundry. Raylan has been getting into trouble at school, causing fights with other girls in the grade above her and sneaking out of the house with boys. Madeline's been giving me attitude and says she doesn't want to get to know me because she already has a mom. I'm at the end of my patience with these girls and have told Derek that if he doesn't control his daughters, I won't marry him. Derek called me overdramatic and told me I was being too harsh on his daughters and that they'd come around eventually. I feel annoyed he isn't taking me seriously, and I'm staying with my mom for now. So, am I the idiot? I say this as a stepmother myself. You are the idiot. The oldest is an adult, the next 2 are nearing it, and the youngest is a teenager. They don't see dad's fiancé as a parent, and you don't get to move in and dictate their schooling or behavior. Rightfully so. His daughters are going to have issues with you due to many factors, and the guy you're marrying isn't doing anything to keep the peace. Also, the whole not marrying ultimatum probably would have made more sense before getting pregnant. At this point, it seems ridiculous. 4 children, 2 different moms, and a 5th on the way with a 3rd mom. Phew! I can't help but think this will end in tears. It's already a stressful situation, and you've moved in before you wanted because you got pregnant. If you've done no groundwork with his children in the last 2 years, how do you expect to be a happy family? Why haven't you gotten to know them sooner? Was he single when you first met each other? I doubt it. Girl, you need to give that man a small break. He just had a messy divorce. Your words. Stop pretending like her feelings aren't valid. You aren't their mom, and you have no say in how they feel about their father knocking up someone only 10 years older than them. If you don't have patience, kindness, and respect for them, you should bounce. And why do you need help with your shoes at 3 months? Seriously, get over yourself. I am judging you and Derek, so everyone's the idiot here. But wow, hon, how are you missing all the incredibly bright, shiny red flags on Derek? Starting with the fact that he's old enough to be your father, but you're worried about how he parents? Also, these kids are teenagers. That's just how it is, in my opinion. You may want to think about whether or not you want to sign up for that. Did it not occur to you that this much older man with 2 failed marriages, who's unable to co-parent successfully or maintain a healthy relationship with his children, is not prime husband material? Yeah, what a catch he is. Raylan, Kaylin, and Madeline? Geez, can I help you name your new kid? Maybe Linlin, Dereklin, to honor the totally awesome man and father who was burned through 2 wives and is on his way through another. What a mess. I, female 27, received an inheritance when my grandmother passed away when I was 16. It went into a trust since I wasn't an adult. I didn't need it for school, and my parents didn't make me pay to live with them when I was a student. I met my husband in high school, and we went long distance when he was accepted into a great school out of state. He got a lot of financial assistance, and his parents helped him, so he didn't have to take out student loans. When we got married, we used some of my inheritance for a down payment on our home. We're not like some people in this sub. Our finances are our finances. We both work and pay for everything together. My in-laws are not well off, but they're not poor. They didn't go into debt to help their son with his education, but they still hold it over his head. Every time that we get together, they insist on questioning his life's decisions. He lived with them and wouldn't tell them to leave him alone. I've spoken to him about it because it hurts him. So together we decided to end this. We saw them for Thanksgiving, and when they started in on him about going back to school to get his MBA instead of just working, he told them to drop it. He said that just because they helped him, it did not give them the right to dictate his life. Any decisions he made for his future were for us to make and not them. They acted very insulted and said they were his parents and they had a right to their opinions. He said he didn't want to hear their opinions about our finances anymore. Well, we just got home from visiting them over Christmas. It was a crap show. First, they started in on all their children. They were saying how each one should be making better decisions since they weren't going to be there to fix their problems with money. As we had agreed, I had my checkbook ready. I pulled it out and asked them to please tell me the exact amount they wanted for their son's education. I said I would pay them and expect them to never bring it up again. They got very upset. They said it wasn't about the money. It was about looking out for their children. All his other siblings told me I was being an idiot for telling my in-laws how to talk to their kids. 2 of them have borrowed money from them, and one still lives at home and needs them for school. We don't need them for their money. My in-laws finally agreed that they wouldn't talk about our choices, but when we left, it was still very tense. My husband and I are satisfied with how it turned out, but his family is still mad at us. Am I the idiot for offering to write my in-laws a check? Not the idiot, and good for you. Put them in their place. The simple of it is that continually bringing up that thing we did for you as a reason to dictate what you should do is a form of abuse. Stomping that crap as you did is the best way to deal with it. Yes, they can have opinions, and like many far more polite people, they can keep it to themselves. They clearly don't actually care as much about the monetary amount as they do about having the right to be nosy in their children's lives. OP and their husband happened to have the financial means to call their bluff, and the parents blinked. At some point, everyone hits the point where certain advice and input from parents or family on specific topics ceases to be useful. It seems like OP's in-laws' financial advice is useless and only a source of stress. Problem solved. Well played. Wait, they didn't go into debt? How could they possibly hold that over his head? There's nothing to hold over his head there. And you offered to write them a check for him to go back to school? Yeah, it sounds like they're just trying to be difficult for the sake of being difficult. I finalized my divorce last year. When things fell apart between us, she said she didn't want anything to do with my kids anymore, except for the one that's hers as well. But I didn't feel the same way about her son. I've always liked him. He was nearly an adult when everything became official with the divorce, and I told him to keep in touch with me and that I would always be there for him. Last month was his high school graduation, and he invited me and all my kids. My ex was angry that I was there, but we didn't sit near her. It was my custody week with our shared child, and I told him he could sit with his mom if he wanted to, and he did. Afterward, my youngest said his mom told him I was a bastard, which was really nice, I think. She ended up telling me over text how I ruined one of the most important days in her life for her. Well, the 4th of July is her custody week, and I asked if our kid could come over to my barbecue for a few hours. I also invited my former stepson. She said no immediately, even though I always make concessions for her, like having him go sit with his mom at his brother's graduation, which I never had to do. My stepson agreed to come, and I guess they've been fighting in the build-up to today because she texted me a couple of hours ago saying our son was coming and her son was bringing him over and then back home. She also said I ruined this holiday for her, like I ruined her oldest's graduation. She said I'm a petty, hateful, resentful person who won't let her have any peace, and she hopes everyone sees my true colors one day. Am I really the idiot? I just wanted to retain a relationship with the kid I care about. It's not easy to be someone's de facto dad for some really formative years and then forget about them. I taught this kid to drive, bought him his first box of banana wrappers. Am I supposed to just drop him like a hot potato? But even my youngest thinks I'm being unfair to his mom. He said I needed to stop being mean to her. So maybe I really am the problem. Edit. The reason for our divorce? We were constantly fighting. I felt like I was failing my kids as a father by exposing them to animosity. I realized we weren't a team anymore, but opponents in a battle. Our fights had taken over our lives. We couldn't get through a date without some argument resurfacing. We weren't having intimacy anymore. We were just roommates who bickered incessantly. Not the idiot. An invitation isn't a summons. You didn't have to come. You asked. They could have said no. As long as you're minimally respectful when you get a no, you're not being a terrible parent. There's someone who's petty, hateful, and resentful in this story, but it sure isn't you. Congratulations on being the stepdad everyone wishes they had. You're doing great. His mom is the idiot. It's obvious you are an important person in his life, and she's letting her own personal grudges and feelings get in the way of that. She needs to go to counseling to figure out her own resentment because it's not healthy for her or the children. Children can easily be manipulated by those they care about, so much so that a loving father can be turned into an evil monster. And if I'm not mistaken, the youngest is the shared child, who's probably getting manipulated, or at the very least, used as emotional support by their mom. This results in them thinking you're being mean to her. Yep, the youngest is definitely being subjected to parental alienation. Telling him you're a bastard is unfair to you and the child. Talk to your divorce lawyer and ask if it would be possible to sit down with a mediator to work out this issue before it becomes a major problem. Parenting means putting your petty BS aside for your kids and swallowing your ego. My dude, how are you even in doubt? You're an upstanding person. Most step-parents don't even attempt to have a relationship. Good luck. My husband and I hadn't spent much time together, even though we'd only been married for 4 months. So I asked him if I could join him on his business trip. It took some convincing because he thought I would be bored the whole time, but he eventually agreed. He was supposed to be in Berlin for a week, but it somehow turned into him going to 5 different countries in 9 days. It was awful, and I was severely jet-lagged the entire time, so I felt like crap. I don't know how he and everybody else was coping with the travel, but I told him I wanted to go home because I couldn't keep up with his schedule. After a lot of arguing, he eventually slowed the pace down, and we went home earlier than he would have liked, even though I told him I could go home by myself. During the argument, he said I shouldn't complain because I invited myself along, and he was trying to get all of his work out of the way for me. He's due to go on another trip in a few days, and he told me I couldn't go because of what happened last time, even though I wasn't planning to ask. Am I the idiot? OMG, you can't honestly believe you're in the right. You invited yourself on his business trip and complained the whole time? Your husband tries to accommodate, you still complain. You are the idiot. Business trips are not vacations. They're trips for work. The dude is trying to work. He told you that you wouldn't enjoy yourself, but you just couldn't leave well enough alone. This is 100% on you. You begged to go. He let you, and you caused issues. It's a pretty open and shut case here. Hopefully his cutting the trip short didn't cost him any business or money, because in my opinion, that's on you too. What did you think his work trips were? Some kind of company-sponsored vacation? You thought he'd do a few hours of light work, and then you get to do some sightseeing and hang out in nice hotels? Nobody's work trips are like that. I mean, did your husband marry a 6-year-old? Seriously, this sounds like a child whining about not getting his or her way, rather than an adult talking about his or her husband. My partner, 28 male, and I, 26 female, come from very different backgrounds. He comes from a very close, and in my opinion, overprotective family. He was basically treated like fine china and not allowed to do anything. He couldn't swim or ride a bike until I showed him because his mother thought it was dangerous. I was raised by a laid-back family who encouraged me to try anything and do everything. We traveled a lot during my childhood, and in 2016 I went abroad to travel and work, coming home during the global issue. When we started dating, I explained that I was home due to the global issue and intended to set out to travel again when possible. My partner agreed and understood, but as we became more serious, he suggested we save money for a few years and then go together. We're currently on track with our savings goal and plan to leave next year. My partner is slowly figuring out the way he was raised is not normal and starting to discover himself. I'm incredibly proud of him. He is still in contact with his parents, but now we have our own home and they aren't as involved. They wanted us to move to the same town as them, but I swiftly put my foot down on that, as did he. We told his parents and they're being incredibly neurotic. I understand that they're looking out for his safety. My mother has a rule that she must receive a text or a phone call from me at least every 2 days. I'm in charge of organizing most of the trip, booking flights and arranging accommodation, as I've been to most places we're planning to go to. They criticize the airlines I choose. They bring up news stories from the places years ago, and they request he shares his location with them 24/7. I explain the outline of the countries we plan to visit, but nothing is certain, as plans change, and you enjoy some places more than others, etc. When we mentioned certain cities, they researched them and freaked out because they were dangerous. I've explained several times that those cities are the ones I know very well, having spent months there and having friends living there also. They wouldn't relent about it. I finally cracked and told them to stop trying to micromanage and control him and not accepting he has his own life now. They were shocked and said nothing, just stared at me as I got my coat and went out to my car. My partner followed me and told me I needed to go and apologize. And I said, nope. They showed no respect for him as an individual and none for me as a knowledgeable and experienced adult. He went back into the house and said goodbye. We drove home in silence, and now it's the next day, and he will not speak to me. Am I the idiot here? Wow, some of you have never left your hometown, have you? Not the idiot. While it's not great you lost your temper, it's understandable. The parents ignored and belittled your knowledge and experience and acted as if they knew better about scary foreign lands and foreigners. You're right about the utter lack of respect that they're showing to both of you. Everyone's the idiot here. Honey, you've got a partner problem. He's still not ready to stop letting his parents run him. You can't tell them to stop. He has to do that himself. He's just not letting you take over like his mom does. They don't care what you think. They care about him. And if boundaries are ever going to be enforced, he needs to grow a spine. But why, oh why, are you sharing any information with them? They can't criticize what they don't know about. They can't research and try to scare your partner if they don't know where you're going. It's time to edit the information you give them. Also, his wanting to apologize and giving you the silent treatment is a giant red flag. You need to decide if you want to be with a grown man who makes his own decisions or a little boy who needs his parents' permission.